Hi guys, welcome to another edition of All Things Football. Today we've got a special edition as we've got a special guest with us. Before I go to the guest, if you are watching, please subscribe and like our YouTube channel. With me today, I've got Sahil and Jason, who are regulars. And then we've got a special guest, Mr. Darren Keet, the South African goalkeeper, Cape Town City goalkeeper currently. Yeah, Darren, it's a great privilege to have you on our show. Welcome.
No, perfect. Thank you very much. Lovely to be here and to be a part of what you guys are doing. So hopefully everyone can enjoy it, and I'm pretty sure I'll enjoy it too.
So let's get into it. Basically, I think all of us growing up, we loved football, and at various levels, we've played it at youth level and things like that, at schools or clubs. But what I'm keen to start is how did Darren Keet get involved in football and eventually become a professional? Because I think everyone has this dream, okay, I'm going to do well at youth level, I'm going to sign up for a club, or get into the academy, and I'll eventually move to the first team. But I don't think it always works out that way. Or does it? Yeah. Can you tell us about your story of how you got into football?
No, I mean, from myself, it wasn't like that at all. I grew up in Reykjavik here in Cape Town. And we just had a group of friends that we used to play with on the fields close to our houses. The field was quite central to where we lived, so we would always meet there, play soccer, cricket, not much rugby. We weren't really rugby guys, but we supported the rugby, but we wouldn't play too much. And it just grew from there. And I played for Bidvest in Cape Town, grew up playing for them. And then I went to Ajax Cape Town when they became an academy. So I was there for 3 years, and then I actually got released there when they told me I had no future and I wasn't going to make it and I wasn't good enough. And it actually didn't disappoint me. It disappointed my dad more than it did me. I was happy to leave because we were training 4 times a week and I had to go straight to training after school, and I wasn't enjoying it at all. And I think actually when I left Ajax, I started enjoying football again, and I made a decision that I wanted to make the step up into playing more competitively again. And that's when I joined Edgemead, and from Edgemead I went back to Bidvest, played for their first team in the amateur first team. I think from 16 years old. And then I played there, and then I went on trial to Santos when Roger de Sá was still there, and he wanted to sign me, but I was still too young. My manager at that time didn't want me to join. He wanted me to finish schooling first, which I did. And then from there I went to Vasco for a year in the Vodacom League when we got promoted to which was the NFD back then. And then during that time, Roger still kept an eye on me and then invited me. Well, not invited me. He came to watch our games, and then he signed me to Bidvest Wits from then when I was 18 years old. So that's pretty much my journey from going as a youngster, playing around on the field and just wanting to enjoy the game, to actually making it out to be a career and making a living from it.
Hi, Darren, Sahil here. Nice to finally speak to you in person.
No problem.
Just continuing on that, and you mentioned, I think it was Roger de Sá. Could you just continue on that and talk us through your journey to Europe from there? I think it was from Wits you left to a Belgian club in 2011. Can you just talk us through how that materialized and how the actual transfer went for you?
Yeah, so I started off at Wits. I was 18 years old, and obviously still young, playing in the Vodacom League. It was a semi-professional league, so making the step up into full-time professional does take some time. I was sort of considered the third choice keeper at that time because I was still quite young. But I made good progression. I made quite a quick progression into being part of the team, into becoming a second choice keeper. And obviously, it had a lot to do with the coaches I was around. Roger was helping me. I was with Wendell Robinson. He was the goalkeeper coach. And he was also the second choice keeper at that time. But we worked nicely together. Energy Murambadora, he was a Zimbabwean guy. He was the first choice at that time. And I think we just had a good working relationship. And eventually I made the step up into becoming the second choice keeper. Energy got injured. I think it was in December in my first season, and it was between myself and Wendell who was going to play. And actually it was Wendell who gave me the chance, because I think Roger wanted Wendell to play because of his experience and things like that. And Wendell said, no, just let him play, let the boy play, and we'll see where we go from there. And
Amazing.
yeah, obviously I did well. I kept a clean sheet. It was Morocco Swallows on the 21st of December in 2008. And I got man of the match. And I eventually played 8 games in that season, and then signed a new contract at Wits at that time, and then played another 2 years as the first choice keeper from there. And then that's when the opportunity came to go to Belgium, whereby an agent from Belgium, who he actually has family in Cape Town, and he used to tour South Africa, but looking at some players, and he was keeping an eye on Valerie Nahaya at that time. And we had actually played against Kaiser Chiefs, and he had a look at me, and he saw me, and he asked if I would be interested, and I said yes, of course, I'd love to go. So we went about that way, getting to Belgium. He contacted the club Ghent, that side, and they were quite interested in me. And I went over. They had paid for everything. They took me over. I did the full medical, and when I went to sit down for a meeting with the director of the club, they weren't happy, because they wanted a keeper that was at least 1 meter 87, 1 meter 88, and I only measured at 1 meter 83. So that deal fell through immediately. But luckily he had some good connections at the clubs in Belgium, and that's where Kavi Kortrijk came in. They were quite keen. They just wanted to make sure that I was going to be a good keeper. They weren't too bothered about my height. And I went to go train once with them, and they decided they wanted to sign me straight from there. And came home, packed my bags, and 2 weeks later I was on my way to Europe.
That is crazy. Jason, yeah, Darren. Obviously everybody they idolize that move overseas, and I think that's what most South African players should strive for. From my opinion, I think one of your most successful seasons was the 2016-2017 when you then rejoined Wits. I think it was league champs and MTN 8 champs as well. In a very change of events where Sundowns win the league every year. I think Wits were the last team to actually win it before their 6-peat. Just talk us through what that was like. I mean, going head to head was probably one of the best teams in this last few years. What is it like to put them in both the league as well as that MTN final, which I think after the 80th minute then just became more like a rondo session. It was just passing and moving, and it came a lot of fun.
I mean, I would think even in that game, playing in that game myself, I don't think anyone expected, and I don't think especially Sundowns expected to be outplayed that much in a game, because like you said, they were always one of the top teams, or always the top team. No one could really get close to them, and it becomes a switch where we were extremely prepared for it. That season, before I joined Wits, I was actually meant to go. Well, I won't say I was meant to go to Sundowns. They were interested, but we were looking at our options, and they came in soft-heartedly. They weren't too. We didn't think they were too serious, and they didn't put in an offer while we were waiting. And in that time, Wits got hold of me, and we took it from there, and they were happy to get the deal done as quickly as possible, and that was that. And a couple of people from Sundowns they moaned and complained, but obviously there was nothing we could do. I'm not a person who sits around and waits for things to happen. If something seems like it's going to be good for me and it's going to work for myself and my family, we go for it. And that's where we joined Wits, and like they say, the rest is history. But it was a great season indeed. Gavin and Jose Ferreira at that time laid down the plans for the club of what they wanted to achieve, how they wanted to go about it. And I said, you know what, it's something that's challenging, and I'm happy to join, and I'm happy to go all in and see where we go from there. And you know, we did it immediately. We won the league, and we won the MTN 8 immediately. And yeah, in the so-called modern era or PSL era, I think the only 4 trophies Bidvest Wits ever won was when I was there. So I'm happy to be a part of that.
Yeah,
You know,
I think
it was
something
the
needs to be
Nedbank
studied
Cup.
about that, then, isn't it?
Yeah, Nedbank Cup in 2010, I was there, and then the MTN 8, the league, and then the Telkom Cup. I was there for all of them. So happy to be a part of it, definitely.
I think that's incredible. Just that stat, and I think we should share that definitely with everyone else, because there's something about Darren Keet and preventing Sundowns from winning trophies, which I think we all want to see.
Yeah,
but
this last season didn't help, but we'll see. We'll see next season. There's another chance. So
definitely, that's the beauty of football. There's always another chance, another season, another game to
yeah.
make things right. But I want to touch on what many people call the pinnacle of their career is representing the country. You were fortunate enough to represent South Africa in Bafana. Tell us how that first experience, that first call up, how it happened, or what you remember of it, and your time playing in the national team. Is there any specific memories which stand out for you?
Yes. You know, talking about my first call up, we were when was it? Jeez, that was also in 2009. I was still 19 years old. We had just come back from the under-20 World Cup, and we had done well. Still to this day, that team still remains the only South African team to progress out of the group stage at a World Cup. So still a record we hold, which isn't bad. But yeah, we had a very good World Cup. The national team was playing. I can't remember who it was. I mean, it was so long ago. I never played, so that's why I won't really remember. But it was a camp with Emile Baron. Rowan Fernandez was, sorry, no, actually Rowan Fernandez was still there, but they weren't calling up international players at that time. It was a local camp, and Monib was injured and Kune was injured, so they called up Baron, and they called up me also. So it was obviously quite exciting. It was in Kimberley at that Griquas Rugby Stadium. I can't remember the name of the stadium, but it was definitely an exciting one. It's one I'll never forget. The only thing I can't remember is who we played against, because I was on the bench and I was so excited and nervous at the same time. I was like, I want to play, but I knew I wasn't going to play. But yeah, since that day, you know, I was quite a regular in the national team, and definitely the good memories are obviously qualifying for the AFCONs, getting to play in the AFCON. Obviously I never really got to play as a so-called first choice at the AFCONs, but you know, I did get my fair chance to play. I've collected a total of 13 international games, which again isn't that great of a total, but I also had to compete with Kune, with Rowan Fernandez, with Monib Joseph. So you know, there were a lot of keepers that I had to compete with in my younger years, and then obviously now Ronnie Williams doing really well at the moment, so still competing with that. But you know, I still feel like even though I've been in a national team in and out for about 14-15 years, I still got a lot to give, and I haven't been selected for the recent camp, which I'm not too entirely sure why, because I feel like I had a decent season. I feel like I've got a lot of value to add to the national team. But okay, the coaches make the decisions, and it's still something I'm working towards. So, you know, no one's given me a call or asked if I'm still going back to national team. But yeah, definitely I want to, and there's still a lot that I have to give to the game and to the country.
Yeah, definitely agreeing with that one there, Darren. I mean, listen to the names of people that you've mentioned, Emile Baron, Monib Joseph, Ron Fernandez, Kune, all of those things. Having played both locally with that crop of players as well as internationally, who would you say has been the player that's impressed you the most? Doesn't necessarily have to be a keeper, but just overall quality, taking it from Monday when they get to training, going all the way into the weekend when they actually play? Who's really stood out for you? I know
Yeah,
it
so
is a big crop of
you
players
mean like,
that you have to pull from.
You know, one of the players that always stood out was Macbeth Sibaya. I don't know, he was just such a cool guy to be around. He always worked hard. I mean, I think he was in Russia at that time, and he would come in late. He would come in late into camp because of their games. You know, you always end up playing games late. He was just like a standout figure that you always saw. I mean, he came straight from the airport. I mean, at that time I was like, what was I, 20, 21, and he came in his little Porsche Panamera that brought him straight from the airport, and I was like, geez, look at this guy. And then, you know, you get to see them, you get to speak to them and things, and he was just like a cool guy. You know, he was someone, he had a good presence about him in camp. He was a hard worker. Obviously, he was a good player. But you know, guys like that, you see them and you see how they handle themselves and what they do, and you see what it does take to get to where they are.
Yeah. Okay.
So you touched on why you weren't called up, and just had a quick squiz at the stats there, and it looks like you are the second South African with the second most highest clean sheet. So you definitely should be in with a shout there. Going back to the result from last season, which took Cape Town City into the CAF Champions League, and also playing in CAF competitions. Just want to know what it was like. What toll did the CAF competitions take on the players? You know, you guys took part in the Champions League and then in the Confed Cup thereafter. If you can just paint a picture of what that was like, and traveling abroad, and the stories that come out where, I don't know how true it is, but your water bottle or your towel got stolen while you were. So yeah, if you can just touch on that for us.
Yeah, so I mean, look, talking about the toll it takes, I think it is a lot of traveling. Cape Town City is known to have usually a smallish squad. We're never gonna have a big squad. Yeah, to travel to those parts of Africa is difficult. The one of the better trips we had was to Angola, but that was definitely a tough trip also. But you know, the role that plays in the club being successful, it's massive. Also having a good start to the league is important. We lost our first 3 games of the season, which wasn't ideal, and to try and pick up and get going from there, to try and then go play Champions League football, where you still have to play 2 qualifying rounds and things like that. It's difficult. The Congo trip was a tough one. It was a good one, but it was a tough one. Obviously, going there with a 2-0 lead from home. We just needed to get through the game, and I think because look, it was so hot there. I had it was hot. It was humid. The sun was shining, so. My bottle was lying next to the goal, and I covered it with a towel to prevent the sun from beaming on my bottle. And obviously, every time I went to, like, I uncovered the bottle with a towel, took a sip of water, put it back, covered it with a towel. So they must have thought it had some muti or something in it that they sent one. I don't know if it was one of their ball boys or one of their players. They sent him out to go and take it. And that's where the whole story came about, because I told the ref, I said, I'm not playing until my bottle and my water and my towel's back at the goal. And the referee said no. And then I said, no, I said, I want my water, I want my bottle. And then he gave me a yellow card for time wasting and all of that.
Jeez.
So I just said, you know what, that's the end of the bottle and the towel. I said, let's just finish this game and get out of here. So we managed to do that. And then we did well. We were happy to go through. And then we obviously had the Petro Luanda in the second game, which is a difficult one. I mean, I think they beat us 2-0 at home still.
Yeah.
And then going all the way to Luanda was a tough one. We lost that 1-0. And then from there, you're not out. You still have to go into the Confed Cup, and you're making a trip to Algeria, where again it's the same. It's a hostile environment. You're flying. I think we flew 24 hours to get there. and then
Yeah.
you're having a 3-4 hour bus trip to the hotel where you're playing and things like that. So these things play a massive part in how successful a club can be, and it definitely did take a toll on us as players. When we got back to Cape Town, we had to regroup. You end up missing trainings because of traveling. You end up training once before a game. Sometimes, I think one of the games we didn't even have a training session because we were just so exhausted, so traveled out that there was no time. The players don't have the energy, but you have to get on with it. And I would say we would have being knocked out was a blessing because we could focus on the league and stuff. But also, you know, these are the competitions you want to play in. The continental cups are the one you want to go for. They're the reason you play football. Everyone wants to play in the Champions League. So those are the things you strive for at the end of the day. And come this new season, we won't be in any of that. But I think we'll definitely have a lot more to go for and to get ourselves back into that position for the following season. But yeah, it all starts now. I think our recent form towards the end of the season helps for what we want to achieve next season. So we got to take it from there.
Definitely. Look, if it's any consolation, I think it was USM Alger that knocked you guys out in the Confed Cup. So they're now in the final. Moving on to if you want to add anything.
No, I was going to say, but that's the thing. You lose to a team like that you know you should have beat. We should have beat them. You have those penalties that are disallowed, which is a disgrace, and then you concede a late goal, and things just fall apart. And you were better than them all along, and then you see they're the ones that are in the final. You're like, God, it should have been us.
Yeah,
it's
a real pity. Look, can you just going back onto the goalkeeper position? You know, it's like from a personal point of view, most of us, you usually focus on the outfield players. They take all the shine and so on. If you can just tell us what it's like as a goalkeeper, especially when you're not number one choice, what does that do, and what kind of mentality do you need? I'm basing this question on like your career, for example, even as close as last or this season, earlier this season. You know, you were actually second in line to Hugo Marquez, who then left under specific circumstances. So, yeah, if you can just touch on that and what that's like.
Yeah. Look, I've never ever joined a club as a first choice keeper in my life, except Cape Town City. But then I was injured, so I signed, and then the whole injury thing happened, and you know, then I had to start from scratch again. I went to Wits as a third choice, left Wits, went to Belgium as a second choice, and then pushed myself, became a first choice. Then I came back to Wits where Monib was still playing, and he had a great season. And then unfortunately he got a red card, and I stepped in and I had to play, and then I played the rest of the 3 years, you know. And then every time I make a move, it happens like that. So I'm no stranger to being a second choice or to starting as a second choice. But you know, the way I work is that I always want to play. I want to prove that I am better than everyone else. I want to be better than everyone else. I never ever go into training or into a game or anything thinking that the next guy is better than me. I always like to think that I'm better than them and when someone does something good, I think to myself, I'm like, yeah, but I can do the same thing. It's nothing special, you know. So that's just the attitude I have, is that no one's really better than me. Give me the chance, I'll do exactly the same things as everyone else, you know. So that's just the way I approach it. And I never want to be a second choice. I never look at myself as a second choice, but I also never look at myself as a first choice. I still feel I have to go into training and games each and every day, each and every week, proving why I should be the one to play. My thing is that when I play, I think the team's got the best chance of winning. And that's how I like to approach things. And that's how I want the coaches to see me also, is that I want them, when they see me, they should think that, you know, we have to play Darren because he gives us the best chance of winning. And I feel that keepers who are so-called second choices and third choices, I think that's how they should think, is that they need to be the one that gives the team the best chance of winning, and the coach the best chance of winning. if you become comfortable in being a second choice and things like that, then unfortunately that's where you're going to end up and that's where you're going to be. And I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be on the bench. I don't want to be in the stands. I want to be on the field, controlling things. And that's just my mentality, and that's the way I see it. And I don't think I'll ever change it because, I want to retire on the field. I don't want to retire on the bench or anything like that.
100%.
Yeah, that's such a good. I think it's a good mindset to have, right? And it's not just specific to goalkeeping. I think if any player competing for any position has that sort of mindset, it makes a good headache for a coach to see. You have two good players vying for one position, and then gives them a headache, and it's a good headache to have. But yeah, moving on to the rapid fire questions. And this is where we generally, give you a few questions. Just quick answer, first thing that comes to mind.
Hopefully it's not about football. I'm not clued up on football players.
No. This is more just personal things for you. So it's just personal preferences. So the first one, the player you had idolized growing up.
Calvin Marlin.
Okay. The best goalkeeper currently in the world.
I'd like to say me, but at the moment I'd go with. I'm still sticking with De Gea. Still De Gea.
Okay. Dave saves. Okay. The funniest teammate that you've had.
Probably Mdu Dansane.
Okay. And this is a bit off football now, well, part and part. Would you rather save the last minute penalty or make the birdie and win a Nedbank Open at Sun City?
Oh, no, I've saved the penalty before, so next on my list is making the birdie.
Making the birdie, sweet. Yeah,
I mean, when I was 19, we played against Kaizer Chiefs when they were still redoing FNB. So we played at Orlando Stadium, and for some odd reason, there was 6 minutes added time, and they got a penalty in the 96th minute. Can you believe it? And luckily I saved it, even though I was still stuck with a dummy in my mouth, but I did it anyway, so it's okay.
No, that's fair. Thank you.
Darren, it's been an absolute pleasure. I mean, I've looked at the time. It's been half an hour, and it felt like it was only 2 minutes. But it's been an absolute pleasure to have you. And I think we can go on and on and on talking about football and especially your career. There's so many stories that we want to hear. But I just want to thank you for coming on. Also, the fact that you're a Man United fan, I think I need to cut the call now.
How did you know?
You just mentioned like 2 minutes ago, but I think being a Newcastle fan, we've got an Arsenal fan in Jason. I think we're not happy the fact that you're supporting United. So Sahil's very happy, but
that's great.
I think it's been a good season for all of us. All of our teams are in the top four, so at least we can agree on that.
At least we still got a cup to play for next week.
Yeah, exactly. And you already secured one in February to my dismay. But I think it's been a good season for Man United, definitely.
I think it's been a good season in the Premier League overall. I never actually watched football, but I watched the last day on Sunday, and it was quite exciting to see how it goes.
Yeah, definitely. So Darren, I just want to thank you for coming on our show. We hope to have you sometime in the future as well. But thank you for coming on. We've really enjoyed it. And to those who are watching, please do subscribe and like our channel and give Darren a follow. Darren, where are you on the social so that if anyone wants to follow you?
On Instagram, just at Darren Keet. On Twitter at Popeye Keet. So it's quite simple.
Cool. So until next time, we'll have another episode very soon. Until next time, it's goodbye from us.
Cheers. Thanks very much.